Have you ever noticed how the older we get, the quieter the world seems to become, yet the questions inside us grow louder? Maybe it's the stillness of your home after dinner, the hum of the TV in the background, or that gentle ache when you see a couple choosing apples together at the grocery store, reminding you of the companionship you miss. If you're in your 70s and thinking about remarrying, whether you've been widowed, divorced, or have found new love later in life, this video is for you. Your heart is still full of life, and wanting love, comfort, or someone to share a laugh with is deeply human. But remarriage after 70 comes with unique challenges that could affect your finances, health, freedom, and peace of mind. Stay with us until the end to discover the 5 biggest risks of remarrying in your later years and gain the wisdom you need to make decisions that honor everything you've worked so hard to build. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video. You can help me continue to spread the old age lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know, so I can make a better video for you. Now let's get started. Imagine this. You've spent decades building a life through hard work, sacrifice, and resilience. You've raised children, paid off a mortgage, cared for aging parents, or perhaps supported a spouse through illness. Now, in your 70s or beyond, you've finally reached a place of relative stability. Your home is yours, free of debt. Your finances are organized. You know exactly where every dollar goes, with a budget carefully balanced between your retirement income, Social Security, or perhaps a pension. You've planned for the future, maybe even set up a trust or a will to ensure your assets go to your children or grandchildren. Life feels settled, maybe for the first time in years, and you're savoring the freedom to live on your terms. Then, someone new enters your life. They're kind, attentive, and bring a warmth you hadn't realized you were missing. They listen to your stories, share your love of morning coffee, or hold your hand during a quiet moment. You start to think, why not? I've earned a little joy. And you're right, you deserve it. But here's where the story can take an unexpected turn. Remarrying in your later years, while deeply rewarding, comes with risks that are often overlooked in the glow of newfound companionship. These risks, financial vulnerability, health responsibility overload, legal complications, and the loss of personal freedom, can reshape your life in ways you might not anticipate. Let's explore each one in detail, with real stories to illustrate the stakes, so you can make informed choices that protect your well-being. Financial vulnerability. When love changes the numbers. After decades of managing your finances, you likely feel confident in your ability to keep your money secure. You've got your retirement savings, perhaps a 401k, IRA, or pension, and you've learned to live within your means. You might assume that remarrying won't disrupt this carefully constructed stability. After all, you're older, wiser, and you'll keep things separate. But the reality is, marriage often merges finances and legal rights in ways you might not expect, and the consequences can be significant. Consider Joanne, a 74-year-old retired librarian living in a small town in Ohio. Joanne had spent years living frugally but comfortably, relying on her late husband's pension and Social Security survivor benefits, which provided about $2,200 a month. Her home was paid off, and she had a modest savings account for emergencies. Life was predictable, and she felt secure. Then she met Bill at a community choir. He was a widower with a warm laugh and a shared love for classic literature. Their courtship was gentle and joyful. Morning coffee dates turned into long walks, and after a year, they decided to marry. Joanne didn't think much about the financial implications. She assumed her benefits and savings would remain untouched, and Bill, who had no savings but a small Social Security check, seemed content with their simple life. What Joanne didn't know was that remarrying at her age would disqualify her from receiving her late husband's survivor benefits, a loss of nearly $800 a month, almost a third of her income. Overnight, their combined budget tightened. Then, when Bill's medical debt from a previous surgery surfaced, Joanne found herself dipping into her savings to cover their shared expenses. It wasn't that Bill was dishonest or manipulative. He simply didn't have the resources to contribute equally. The system, not their love, created the problem. The ripple effects didn't stop there. Joanne, wanting to be fair to her new husband, revised her will and added Bill's name to the deed of her home. Her adult children, who had grown up in that house and expected it to stay in the family, were heartbroken. They weren't angry at Joanne, they knew she loved Bill, but they mourned the loss of a legacy that had been a cornerstone of their family's story. Joanne herself was blindsided. She hadn't realized how marriage would automatically alter her financial landscape. Now, instead of enjoying her golden years with peace of mind, she spent her days quietly worrying about money, a burden she thought she'd left behind. The lesson here is clear. Financial stability in your 70s and beyond isn't just about numbers in a bank account. It's about your independence, your dignity, and your ability to make choices without fear of running out. Marriage can jeopardize that stability if you're not proactive. Before remarrying, consult a financial advisor or elder law attorney to understand how marriage might affect your Social Security, pensions, or other benefits. Consider a prenuptial agreement to keep assets separate, and review your estate plan to ensure your wishes are clear. Love is wonderful, but it shouldn't come at the cost of your financial security. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Health responsibility overload. The hidden cost of caregiving. By your 70s, you've likely spent decades caring for others. Children, parents, perhaps a spouse. You've managed fevers, driven to doctor's appointments, and stayed up late worrying. Now, you're finally at a stage where you can prioritize your health. You take your blood pressure medication, do your morning stretches, eat your oatmeal, and keep up with your annual checkups. You've earned this time to focus on yourself. But remarrying can unexpectedly pull you back into the role of caregiver, sometimes at a cost to your well-being. Nancy's story illustrates this risk vividly. At 76, Nancy was vibrant and independent, living in a senior community in Florida. She managed her arthritis with medication and regular exercise, and she cherished her routine of morning walks and book club meetings. Then she met George at a community dance. He was 78, with a charming smile and a knack for making her laugh. Their relationship blossomed over shared dinners and long conversations, and within a year, they married. For the first few months, life was blissful. But then George suffered a minor stroke, leaving him with reduced mobility and memory challenges. Suddenly, Nancy was thrust into the role of full-time caregiver. She helped George in and out of bed, managed his complex medication schedule, drove him to physical therapy, and even assisted with basic tasks like bathing. Her health began to slip. She skipped her own doctor's appointments, neglected her arthritis medication, and stopped her morning walks because she was too exhausted. Lifting George strained her back, and sleepless nights worrying about him left her drained. Nancy didn't resent George. She loved him deeply. But in a quiet moment during a senior wellness talk, she admitted, "I didn't realize that marrying him meant signing up to give up my health." Caregiving in your 70s is profoundly different from caregiving in your 30s or 40s. Your energy is finite, and your health challenges, whether it's arthritis, heart issues, or simply the natural slowing of age, make the physical and emotional demands of caregiving even heavier. According to the National Alliance for Caregiving, caregivers over 65 often report declines in their health, with 1 in 5 experiencing physical strain and 1 in 3 reporting emotional stress severe enough to impact their well-being. For Nancy, the toll was both physical and emotional. She felt she was losing the independence she'd worked so hard to reclaim. Before remarrying, it's critical to have honest conversations about health. Does your partner have chronic conditions that might require care? Are you physically and emotionally prepared to take on that role? If the answer is uncertain, consider alternatives like living together without marrying or setting clear boundaries about caregiving responsibilities. You might also explore professional support options, like home health aides, to share the load. Protecting your health isn't selfish, it's essential. You've earned the right to prioritize your well-being, and love shouldn't mean sacrificing it. Legal complications. When marriage overrides your plans. You've spent years getting your affairs in order. You've written a will, set up a trust, designated a power of attorney, and ensured your home and savings will go to your children or grandchildren. You've done everything right. But remarrying can upend those plans in ways you might not expect, because marriage is not just a romantic commitment. It's a legal contract with far-reaching consequences. Take Diane, an 81-year-old widow living in California. Diane had meticulously planned her estate. Her modest home and a savings account of $120,000 were to go to her 2 grandchildren, who had spent their childhoods in that house. She'd also designated her daughter as her power of attorney for healthcare decisions. When Diane met Tom at a senior center, she was smitten. He was charming, treated her with kindness, and shared her love of gardening. They married after a year, both agreeing to keep their finances separate. Diane assumed her estate plan was ironclad. What Diane didn't know was that, in California, a new spouse automatically gains inheritance rights unless estate documents are updated post-marriage. When Diane fell ill with pneumonia, Tom, as her legal next of kin, took over her medical decisions. Diane's daughter, who knew her mother's wishes intimately, was sidelined, leading to choices Diane wouldn't have made. After Diane's passing, Tom inherited a significant portion of her estate, including half the house, because Diane's will hadn't been updated to reflect the marriage. Her grandchildren lost part of their inheritance, and the family was dragged into a painful legal battle. Tom wasn't malicious. He was simply following the law as it applied. But the outcome was devastating. Legal complications like these are surprisingly common. In many states, a new spouse is entitled to a portion of your estate, sometimes up to a third or half, regardless of what your will says, unless you've explicitly updated it with a prenuptial or postnuptial agreement. Marriage can also affect Medicaid eligibility, long-term care planning, and even your ability to make independent medical decisions. According to the American Bar Association, nearly 40% of older adults who remarry fail to update their estate plans, leaving their families vulnerable to disputes. Before remarrying, consult an elder law attorney to review your will, trust, and power of attorney documents. A prenuptial agreement can clarify asset division, while a postnuptial agreement can reinforce those boundaries after marriage. Be explicit about healthcare directives and inheritance plans. These steps aren't about distrust, they're about ensuring everyone you love, including your new partner, is protected. Love doesn't replace legal clarity. It depends on it. Loss of personal freedom, the quiet cost of compromise. By your 70s, you've earned a kind of freedom that's hard-won and deeply personal. You wake up when you want, sip your tea just the way you like it, and spend your day reading, gardening, or simply enjoying the quiet. Your routines, preferences, and rhythms are yours, shaped by years of trial and error. But remarrying can subtly erode that freedom, as you adjust to someone else's habits, needs, and expectations. Ruth's experience captures this risk. At 76, Ruth had been widowed for 5 years and had settled into a life she loved in her small apartment in Oregon. She ate light meals, kept her home tidy, and cherished her quiet evenings with a book. When she met Jerry at a community center, she was drawn to his warmth and humor. They married after a year, excited to share their lives. At first, Ruth loved the companionship, dinners together, movie nights, and walks in the park. But over time, the small compromises started to add up. Jerry liked the TV on all day, while Ruth craved silence. He preferred hearty multi-course meals, while Ruth had grown accustomed to simple salads and soups. He slept with the window open, leaving Ruth shivering from the draft. These weren't major conflicts, but they disrupted the rhythm Ruth had carefully crafted. She found herself adjusting her schedule, her habits, even her preferences to accommodate Jerry. Over months, she felt a quiet loss, not of love, but of the independence she'd come to treasure. She confided to a friend, "I didn't realize how much I'd miss being able to live exactly as I wanted." This loss of personal freedom can sneak up on you. When you're younger, marriage often involves building a shared life, with compromise as a natural part of the deal. But in your 70s, you've already built a life that works for you. Adding someone new, no matter how wonderful, means renegotiating boundaries you may not even realize you've set. A 2023 study from the Journal of Gerontology found that older adults who remarry often report a decline in personal autonomy, with 1 in 4 citing small, daily compromises as a source of stress. Before committing to marriage, reflect on what your daily freedom means to you. Have open conversations with your partner about routines, habits, and expectations. Consider alternatives like cohabitation or a committed partnership without marriage, which can preserve your independence while still fostering connection. If you do marry, set clear boundaries early on, perhaps designating personal spaces or agreeing on separate routines for certain parts of the day. Your freedom is a gift you've earned. Protect it as fiercely as you protect your heart. Moving forward with eyes open. Love in your later years can be a beautiful gift, a chance to share laughter, companionship, and warmth. But it's not just a matter of the heart. It's a decision that affects your finances, your health, your legal standing, and your freedom. The stories of Joanne, Nancy, Diane, and Ruth remind us that these risks are real, not because of ill intentions, but because life and love are complex. Before you say, "I do," take time to pause and reflect. Consult a financial advisor to understand how marriage might affect your income and assets. Talk to an elder law attorney to update your estate plan and protect your wishes. Have honest conversations with your partner about health, caregiving, and daily routines. Consider whether marriage is the only way to share your life. Options like cohabitation or a committed partnership might offer the connection you seek without the legal or financial entanglements. You deserve love, joy, and companionship, but you also deserve to protect the life you've built. By approaching remarriage with clarity and preparation, you can embrace love without sacrificing your peace of mind. After all, the truest love, whether for a partner or yourself, honors both your heart and your hard-earned wisdom. When Ruth first broached the subject of needing space, a wave of guilt washed over her, as though simply voicing her desire for solitude was an act of ingratitude. She had spent years nurturing relationships, raising children, and supporting her late husband through life's ups and downs. Now, in her 70s, the idea of craving independence felt almost rebellious. But here's the unvarnished truth. Wanting space at this stage of life doesn't make you ungrateful, it makes you human. After 7 decades of living, your freedom is not just a luxury. It's a hard-earned treasure. You've spent decades bending to accommodate others, compromising on small decisions like what to cook for dinner and monumental ones like where to live or how to manage finances. You've cared for spouses, children, aging parents, and sometimes even friends or neighbors. You've earned the sacred right to live life on your terms, to keep your home exactly as you like it, with your favorite books on the coffee table and your quirky collection of teacups in the cupboard. To eat oatmeal at 3 p.m. if that's what you fancy. To spend your afternoons reading, gardening, or simply sitting in the quiet of your thoughts. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Marriage, even one filled with love and mutual respect, inevitably requires adjustment. After years of cultivating a life that fits you perfectly, those adjustments can feel heavier than they did in your 30s or 40s. The compromises that once felt like a natural part of partnership, deciding whose family to visit for the holidays or how to split household chores, can now feel like encroachments on a hard-won sense of self. This isn't to say that companionship is undesirable. Far from it. Connection is a cornerstone of a fulfilling life. But it's worth asking, is marriage the only path to meaningful companionship? Because sometimes, what you truly crave isn't the legal or social structure of marriage. It's the warmth of a shared laugh over coffee, the comfort of a familiar voice on the phone, or the simple joy of a Sunday afternoon walk in the park with someone who understands you. Those moments of closeness don't always require a wedding ring, a shared bank account, or a merged household. You don't have to sacrifice your freedom to feel connected, nor do you have to relinquish your cherished solitude to avoid loneliness. If you're someone who treasures the quiet ritual of your morning coffee, the ability to make decisions without negotiation, or the peace of a home arranged just the way you like it, that's not something to feel ashamed of, it's something to protect fiercely. True love, in any form, should honor your peace, not disrupt it. It should amplify your sense of self, not demand that you shrink to fit someone else's needs or expectations. At this stage of life, your independence is a testament to your resilience. You've lived long enough to know what fills your soul and what depletes it. You've learned, perhaps through trial and error, what brings you joy and what weighs you down. You have every right to make choices that safeguard your comfort, your rhythm, and your peace of mind. Those choices might mean saying no to commitments that feel overwhelming or setting boundaries that protect your energy. They might mean choosing a quieter, more solitary life over one filled with the constant negotiation that marriage often entails. Whatever shape your choices take, they are yours to make, and they are valid. There's an undeniable beauty in reaching this chapter of life. You've weathered countless seasons, some radiant, some stormy. You've built homes, careers, and families. You've let go of dreams that no longer served you and embraced joys you never saw coming. You've made mistakes, learned from them, and found meaning in places you never expected. Through it all, you've gained something priceless: clarity. You know what matters most to you, whether it's the freedom to travel on a whim, the quiet pride of a paid-off mortgage, or the simple pleasure of an evening spent with a good book. You also know what doesn't matter. The opinions of others who don't understand your journey, the pressure to conform to societal expectations, or the idea that you must be partnered to be whole. This clarity makes the prospect of remarrying after 70 a complex and deeply personal decision. It's not just about love or companionship. It's about the risks that come with intertwining your life with someone else's at a time when you've worked so hard to define your own. One of the most subtle yet significant risks is financial entanglement, a challenge that often emerges quietly, long after the wedding vows have been exchanged and the celebrations have faded. This risk is distinct from the more immediate financial concerns of remarriage, such as losing access to pensions or benefits or unintentionally taking on a partner's debt. Financial entanglement is about the slow, often unintentional blending of two financial lives that were never designed to merge. In your 30s or 40s, combining finances often makes sense. You're building a shared future, buying a home, raising children, or saving for retirement. Your income is likely growing, and your debts are manageable or on their way to being paid off. It's a collaborative journey toward a common goal. But in your 70s or beyond, your financial priorities shift. You're no longer building. You're preserving. You're safeguarding the resources you've spent a lifetime accumulating. Your savings, your home, your investments, so they can support you through your later years and, if you choose, provide a legacy for your children or grandchildren. When you remarry without meticulous planning, that carefully constructed financial security can begin to unravel. Consider Walter, an 82-year-old widower who lived a comfortable, debt-free life in a small but well-kept home. Walter was known in his community for his kindness and quiet humor. After years of living alone, he met Clara, a vibrant woman who brought warmth and energy back into his life. When they married, Walter was overjoyed to have a partner again. But Clara came with financial complexities Walter hadn't fully considered. Medical bills from a chronic condition, a son who frequently needed help with rent, and credit card debt that had accumulated over years of unexpected expenses. At first, Walter approached these challenges with generosity. "I'll just help her out a little," he thought, keeping their finances separate in his mind. But small acts of help snowballed. He co-signed a loan for Clara's son, covered a hospital bill when her insurance fell short, and paid for car repairs when her son's vehicle broke down. Over time, Walter found himself dipping into the savings he had earmarked for his daughter's inheritance. By the time he realized the extent of the financial strain, his carefully planned security had eroded. Walter didn't regret marrying Clara. He loved her deeply. But he wished he had entered the marriage with clearer boundaries and a better understanding of what was at stake. At this stage of life, money isn't just currency. It's your safety net, your autonomy, your ability to say yes to the things that bring you joy and no to the things that don't. When your finances become entangled with someone else's, their medical expenses, their family obligations, their spending habits, you risk losing more than just dollars. You risk losing the control you've worked so hard to maintain. This is why it's critical to approach remarriage with intention and foresight. Before saying, "I do," ask the hard questions, not just about love, shared values, or how you'll spend your days together, but about practical matters like debt, assets, and expectations. Does your potential partner have outstanding loans or credit card balances? Are they financially supporting adult children or other family members? What are their expectations for shared expenses, and how do they align with yours? These conversations aren't unromantic. They're responsible. Every dollar you've saved represents a story of hard work, sacrifice, and resilience. Late nights at the office, years of budgeting, moments of saying no to indulgences so you could secure your future. You don't owe those stories to anyone but yourself, and if you choose to share them, it should be with clear boundaries and protections in place. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Practical steps can help safeguard your financial independence. A prenuptial agreement, for example, can outline how assets and debts will be handled during the marriage and in the event of a separation or death. Consulting a financial advisor or estate attorney can provide clarity on how remarriage might affect your retirement benefits, taxes, or estate plans. If you have adult children, involve them in these discussions, not to seek their permission, but to ensure your wishes for your legacy are clear. These steps may feel formal or even uncomfortable, but they are acts of self-respect. They ensure that the life you've built, brick by brick, choice by choice, remains yours to control. Let's pause for a moment to address something deeper, something that might be stirring in your heart as you read this. Perhaps you're feeling a quiet ache, a sense of loneliness that lingers despite your independence. Maybe you're thinking, I don't want to be alone forever. That feeling is valid, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. Loneliness in later life is a universal human experience, and the desire for connection, to share stories, to laugh, to feel seen, is profoundly human. But here's what I want you to hold close. Companionship doesn't always require a marriage certificate or a shared home. There are countless ways to cultivate meaningful connections that enrich your life without compromising your autonomy. Consider the possibilities. Joining a local book club where you can discuss your favorite novels over tea, volunteering at a community center where you can share your skills and meet others who share your passions, or connecting with like-minded people through online forums tailored to older adults seeking friendship. You might be surprised to discover how many others feel just as you do, quietly yearning for connection but unsure where to find it. A friend to meet for lunch on Sundays, a neighbor to walk with in the park, or a family member you call to share a funny story. These relationships can fill your heart without asking you to give up your independence. For some, remarriage is the right choice, a beautiful new chapter filled with shared dreams and mutual support. But for others, it may not be. If you feel hesitant, uncertain, or simply protective of the life you've built, that doesn't make you cold or closed off. It makes you wise. It means you've lived enough to know what you value and what you're unwilling to sacrifice. I've spoken with many older adults, men and women in their 70s, 80s, and beyond, who remarried later in life. Some found joy in their new partnerships, but others quietly confided, I miss my freedom. Not because they didn't love their spouse, but because they hadn't anticipated how much they would give up. The ability to make decisions without compromise, the quiet joy of a day spent entirely on their terms. That's why, before you commit to remarriage, I invite you to make a different kind of vow to yourself. Say to yourself, I deserve. You deserve peace that feels like a warm blanket on a chilly evening. You deserve rest after a lifetime of giving. You deserve love that lifts you without pulling you away from who you are. You've carried so much in your lifetime, joys, sorrows, responsibilities, and dreams. You've nurtured families, built careers, and weathered losses. Now this is your time, not to prove your worth, not to fix anyone else's problems, but to live fully, freely, and authentically. If remarriage aligns with your heart and you've planned carefully to protect your independence, embrace it with open arms. But if you're unsure, it's okay to pause. It's okay to say no. It's more than okay to guard your time, your energy, and your heart with the fierce love you've earned. You don't need a ring to feel whole. You don't need a partner to be complete. You are already whole, already complete, just as you are, a person of depth, resilience, and hard-won wisdom. Live this chapter of your life with the courage to choose what brings you joy, and never let anyone convince you that your happiness depends on anything other than your own beautiful, singular self. Thank you for joining me today in this heartfelt conversation about remarriage after 70. I hope this has given you clarity, perspective, and maybe even a little courage to make choices that protect your peace and honor your incredible life's journey. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you've learned from this video that you'll carry forward in your own life? Maybe it's a new way to think about love, a boundary you want to set, or a step you'll take to safeguard your independence. Please share it in the comments below. Your story could inspire someone else watching. If you found this video helpful, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Strong Elderly Life, for more content to support and empower you at every stage of life. Here's to living fully, freely, and on your terms. I'll see you again soon.